legs.
Hello.
Hello, Sylvia.
Second try. So here we are, and on this exciting day when Neptune goes into Aries for the first time in 600 years or something profound. So, yeah, times for change on the planet, yeah?
Hmm.
So we're going to do a Q&A?
Yes, we are. I'm just getting my questions up here quickly. Sorry.
Good.
Good. Perfect.
Okay, we're all set then. And I will bring in the group of 100 and off we go.
Take
Okay.
it from there.
Greetings, dear Anthony. Greetings.
Greetings and welcome. I have a few questions. These are just sort of general topical questions that I just sort of found. And I'll just start reeling them off. This is not a religious question. I heard this quote, a description of human divinity, the ability to transcend perceived limitations, where transcend equals more than perceived, more than perceived equals we may not even be real. The ability to transcend the limits of our perceived education and environment.
That's a lot of words, Anthony. Could you reframe the question in a way that is easier for us to understand?
Basically, the ability, our perceived limitations, and because we may not be real in this environment, that more than anything, that's because we perceive everything to be real in this environment and solid,
Yes.
and the ability to transcend this perceived environment
Yes.
to because we're being limited by our education and the environment itself.
Yes. Well, I do think that the question contains the answer within it. This is what we feel today, is that indeed the answer is that the perceptions and the limitations are indeed part of a world which possibly may not be real. And so, if it was, should we say, that you were looking at a stage set with a backdrop, but it's very high tech and everything moves and looks like a real screen. It looks like you're looking out at a cityscape, and then suddenly, as in the movie The Matrix, this screen drops and you realize that you are in, as it were, a white room or on a blank canvas. What,
Behind a green screen.
like a green screen, yes, but I think a canvas yet to be drawn on,
Mm.
yes, is our point, that really to drop this transcendence that we seek, it has been suggested by many great masters and many great traditions now, that it is as simple as just taking a step to the right or a step to the left, or looking at the world through a different set of glasses, not the rose-colored ones, through taking the glasses off, through just deciding it's going to be different. I can live differently from this day forward. That is it. To understand, if one really is to understand that much is illusion, how does each soul come to their core to go, well, if I have been living an illusion, how do I even know what I want to create in my future? But of course, every soul knows what they want to create. Every soul on earth at this time has dreams and schemes and heart's desires that they are hoping and wishing that they could come to fruition. For some, it seems like their hopes and dreams are indeed something out of a movie. But this is the joy when you are working with this material of, as it were, what would you call it? The clay of creation is what somebody imagined and put into a movie. Does not mean that that is not something that you can imagine for yourself and pull into your life. This is the clay that you build with now. You build with your heart's desires. You build with your imagination. You build with your fervent hopes for a better world. If, of course, your hopes and dreams are for serving self only at this time, then of course you must expect that very little will come of this, because we have now moved past that age on this planet. The day when those who only work in service to self can be served, this is now moving past. And we are moving into a time of working for our brothers and sisters, working for community, building a new world, building structures that will be of benefit to as many on this planet as possible. Does this answer your question, Anthony?
Yes, yes. Well, you were talking about that sort of fluid clay. This basically is like our user interface, which is our thoughts, feelings, emotions, breath, focus, nutrients, and movement.
Yes.
And when we sort of bring this all together in just the right way, we're awakening our potential. Is this correct?
This is a very beautiful list you have compiled, Anthony. We could not remember it as well as you. Indeed, the word nutrients is the one that did leap out to us. Because I suspect that many things on that list could even perhaps come under the heading of nutrients, in the sense that it may have been intended to be as a comment about food, but of course, if the soul is fed, if creativity happens, if relationships are nurtured, if self-love is prioritized, then all of these things become nourishment, do they not? They all nurture and build the self. And this balanced, grounded, harmonious self can then truly allow the flight into the imagination, can allow these new structures to form in their brain and in their mind and in their heart, and bringing all together into actually what feels like a good idea on paper, but in these current energies, as you commit to the energetic strands of creation in these projects that you bring about, you may find them suddenly materializing in front of you in ways that you hadn't thought was possible.
Okay, great. There seems to be a concerted movement to veil us from our divinity at this point in time, to steal that power from us, to leave us in a fearful state so we can be controlled more easily.
Yes.
Can you comment maybe on that a little?
Yes, this brings about great grief and sadness within this one here. Yes. This is indeed the tragedy of the story of planet Earth, is it not? That right from the beginning, once the true history is understood, this was the goal of those who brought darkness to the planet, to cut off the individual, the human being, from their knowledge that they are innately divine, to mislead them about their true natures, to consciously keep them in a state of darkness, to feed them lies and mistruths, to create structures which imprison, which make them pay and pay again and pay again, both from their material resources, their physical resources, their emotional resources, constantly drained, so that there is indeed little time or encouragement to focus on building the spiritual life. Throughout history, when man was indeed sometimes in their more primitive or more simple communities, there were times of great drought and danger where indeed people didn't think that they could be fed. And at these times, you could argue there was not time for spirit. There was not time for spiritual understandings, and people just were encouraged or felt desperate enough to move purely into what we would call survival mode. And yet, somewhere in that same village may be a family who goes out to work alongside their friends, but comes back in the evening and lights a candle and prays together, and still keeps the flame of belief and trust in the divine alive. And it is these candle bearers over all the generations that have allowed this connection to the divine to still be here, so that now, in this age of light, in this age of enlightenment, where people in their millions are awakening to this role of the divine on planet Earth, it can be held and shared and used as a force to literally light the whole planet now. It was not always the case. And indeed, those who are still allowing themselves to be seduced by the material, by the idea that money is the goal, by the idea that they have to be best, by the idea that they must do such and such to promote their business in such a way to make it look such and such. These are all storylines in the illusion designed to keep you very, very busy and out of touch with your essence. Once your essence comes online, as it were, and joy is in its place, then creation will follow. In the future, when mankind is moving into the upper 4D and 5D experience, people will do what their current joy is. And if they choose to work, this will be how they make a living. Doing what brings them joy, doing what they deeply love. This will be the only valid form of work in the course of daily life, because anything that is aligned to principles based on darkness or encapsulation and imprisonment of the human soul, these cannot survive in the higher light dimensions. So of course it is ultimately love and creativity that will guide the way.
Very good. This is a slightly different question. Every ancient alphabet has a mysterious number associated with each letter. This study is called gematria.
Gematria, yes.
Gematria. Also, the numbers of the atomic mass of elements also equates to these alphabets. Therefore, the DNA of any life are 1, 5, 6, and 3. This literally reads God internal within the body. Hebrew, Arabic, and Sanskrit. Now, the question is basically, this is a non-degrading sign to understand our Maker. Is this your understanding also?
Yes. These are the ancient lineages, which the ancient languages of light, which, as you say, Anthony, in response to your previous question, these are the ones that bring assurance to the doubters and bring assurance to those who seek, and who find these patterns. This is so remarkable. Who could have thought? Makes no sense, but of course it makes infinite sense when it is understood that this is all part of the divine plan. The truly divine plan is not a simple whitewash of woo-woo, which some people would have you believe. It is a deeply and anciently constructed structure built on the light, on frequency, on the frequency of light, on the frequency of numbers. These are all frequency holders, and they carry messages within them, and these messages are common to these ancient scripts, indeed, as you say. And this is where we realize that humanity was always meant to be one, that unity is the way and the future of humanity, and that this separation through language and through other forms of knowing indeed has just been a layer of the darkness attempting to again disconnect humanity from their understanding that they are all one. They are whole within their divine frequency. And this indeed is a homecoming when we look at these ancient messages, feel them in our body, and sigh with relief as if, yes, this has always been known. And here I am now in 2025, still resonating with this.
I think I've heard before that this alphabet, some of the alphabets actually are an exact sound replication of certain frequencies.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, because of course sound, as we know, has been used as creator, as mover, as builder. Sound in its extreme aspects has been used as a profound tool and understanding on planet Earth. And indeed in the future, not so long in the future as you think, it will return so. It will again be used for construction and alignment, because the alignment is very precise, and it is when we seek alignment with the divine codings, such as the one you read out, the divine codes, the divine codings, the alignment indeed is required to be precise, and it is sound that has the capacity to get these very precise alignments. So yes, it is indeed one of the great mysteries. It is becoming more of interest to many around the world. And indeed, we do ask that each person does find themselves in situations where they can make sound. Sound is a carrier of feeling, of emotion. Those who find themselves without a voice are likely to be blocking certain layers of emotional expression within them. In time, wherever frequency is frozen, illness will appear. So sound is one, certainly, of the divine gifts that has lasted across the millennia to come forth again at this time and to offer many layers of both technological and organic healing.
Fantastic. This is another sort of question, roughly based on that same premise. Time, space, and matter are the constructs of our environment, our world. But God, or the creative force, is not constrained by this. But time, space, and matter have to come into existence simultaneously, a continuum. God also has to be outside of these, as in the beginning was time, God created heaven, that's space, and the earth, that's matter. This is the Trinity. Now, I know this is sort of more of a religious type of connotation. Can you comment further on this, even though this may have biblical significance? There seems to be great wisdom in this thinking.
Well, we would say that prime creation, yes, is always on the outside. And prime creation has its dreams of manifestation, its experiments, its different ways that it wants to experience itself. And this is partly why it has created planets of different dimension, so that source energy can observe itself in all layers of its being. It can observe itself in the third dimension, in the fourth dimension, in the fifth, in the sixth. This directly links to the idea that as planet Earth, a third-dimensional planet, is currently evolving and moving towards its time of great shift into the fourth and fifth and above dimensions, well, the planet Earth will be moving into the fifth, that beings from many galaxies are all here observing and watching with delight and interest, because what happens here on the third D directly affects them on the fourth or the fifth or the sixth or the seventh. So every leap, one step for one man, leap for mankind. Similarly, one leap for mankind is a leap for each part of the galaxy. Each planet, one leap for Earth is one leap for each planet above it in dimension. And so, yes, we are struggling to return to your question. Give us a reminder.
Okay. Can you comment further, even though it says a biblical...
Oh, yes. Time, space, and matter, we remember, yes. So, prime creation wished with planet Earth to put the structure in place of the time and the space and the matter, of course, in different combinations in each of these dimensions. It is this is the divine alchemy of source, that different parameters take different roles in different dimensions. In Earth, there is indeed in the third dimension a thing called time. But we now know, and it is fairly common knowledge in the quantum world, that time indeed does not exist above the third dimension, which is why all the people currently in the process of moving through the fourth dimension on planet Earth are busy, as it were, missing time, missing thoughts, missing words, missing days, missing hours in their day, feeling the shortness of the days, feeling time literally dissolve around them. And some are learning to ride this shift from this one level of creation to the next. But others are saying, oh, it's because I'm getting old, or oh, it's because my brain isn't working anymore, or oh, I'm so stressed, this is what's happening to me. These are they are excuses, but why would one make excuses when so many people, if you just speak to the people around you, are feeling similarly? Why can it not be agreed that things are really changing? Things are in a time of shift. And it would appear that time and all of its rules and the way we used to function within time as humans, everything is changing and lightening, and things do not seem as pressing or as solid or as urgent, because when the rule of time leaves humanity, then suddenly the field becomes very open indeed. So the field that is being encouraged in all teachings at this time, of course, is what do we do without time, without the construct of the third dimension? Well, there is always the moment. The moment you can describe as being a part of time, but also it is the act of being. It is life force in action, in manifestation. It is still in matter, but it is not bound by matter, because again, the quality of matter completely changes and disfigures as it moves into the next dimensions. So again, this sense of the moment is now, and the moment matters. So this is indeed a reframing of two of these key principles of time and matter. And of course, what you find once you have entered into the world of the moment and what matters in that moment, what is built in that moment, is you find there is a surprising amount of space. And it is this new spaciousness within a moment that will be the joy for humanity to discover, that is currently being discovered worldwide on the planet, but will continue to be a great revelation for those willing to move out of the bindings of the third dimensional construct. Yes, indeed, God, prime creator, formed planet Earth using these forms. It was elected to be a third dimensional planet of free will, and these were the ingredients that were needed for this creation. But now the creation is shifting and changing. There will be new understandings of those same ingredients, and there will be more ingredients coming in to be added to the mix.
Fantastic. Very interesting. This question is basically because a lot of people seem to be interested in this topic. We've had quite a bit of interest in the videos. How do you tell when the pineal gland has been activated? And I found it interesting. I went to a sort of a blog site, and people have relayed these experiences and symptoms. So I'll read some of them out, however they may be. Unexplained head pressure, anxiety, seeing things others can't, body tingles and buzzes like static fuzz. You'll become more sensitive to energy and others. Past experiences and traumas will resurface to be dealt with. Treat yourself with kindness and understanding. That was one experience. People think you sound crazy. You think you sound crazy, but everything makes sense in the craziest way. Well, that was interesting. A full activation results in visionary wheels in different aspects. The visions associated with them are easily accessed to timeline jumps. You see the wheels turning with a decision to reach, or you just let something go. Ultimate is threads of illumination so far and passing the sea fog. Wasn't quite sure on that one, but anyway. Smell, hear, touch become heightened tenfold. You feel everything around you, vibrations, whispering, a unique sense of smell. You see things around you that pop in and pop out. You have a feeling of being above everyone. But then in the end, I like this sort of answer. Not a single person in this comment section can really speak on how to tell because theirs isn't activated. That's like asking someone who is blind what a sunrise looks like.
Uh-huh.
And so my question is, so all of this is relevant. So is all of this relevant? And is it a very personal, individual experience?
Yes, indeed, it is relevant. It is probably one of the points of greatest relevance on planet Earth at this time. That people do what they can to focus and activate this quality of the pineal. It ultimately is deeply personal, as your beautiful examples showed us, Anthony. Even though, of course, there was a certain quality common to all of them, was there not? The sense
Yes.
of being beyond, or perhaps being above, or the ability to see through or to expand one's consciousness in ways that perhaps people hadn't thought were fully possible. And indeed, our understanding is that for the human who is constantly evolving, that this first description that you gave, which seemed to us to be the story of somebody awakening and revelations, and then realizing that to get further they had to clear the dark, and then further revelations, and then sideways revelations, and over here and over there, and then so this is certainly something this one our channel is very familiar with, and what we are encouraging, of course, this time for each human being to be doing, which is to understand that if they were to come in at their being from that overview point, they would see the points where trauma and misunderstanding has created blockage in their energy field. And that indeed, if they truly wish to move through into the highest realms possible for them to achieve during the shift, they do want to do this work with thoroughness to cleanse away any what you would call trauma, or this word disfiguration keeps coming to us. I think what this must mean is that when the human being is not allowed to shine their light simply in their essence, it is a form of ugliness, it is a form of sadness that this bright light has been taken in this way. And but this is false appearing real, and yes, the work can be done to restore that divine illumination. It is fairly, I would say, probably common knowledge amongst various of your teachers, and certainly mystical traditions, that there will be a higher level activation of sight and sound and physical sensibility. So yes, those 5 senses of taste, touch, smell, hearing, and sight will be more freely able to move to their higher aspects, what some call the clairs. So clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience. So these higher qualities of tuning in to other beings and communicating with them. And these, of course, for those who are getting increased pineal activation, become fairly normal. But the true activation will allow people to see their greatest selves. So often it's where people believe the script they've been given. They believe, here's the script and here's your role, off you go, play that. And even though the soul knows that that was chosen, the person who drops into the role really starts to believe that is who they are. So the pineal involves a reclamation of the full self, a returning to the understanding that a fuller self, a self which includes a higher self, and that that higher self is indeed a representation of the divine, which the smaller self has access to on a daily basis. This, what could we say, upliftment into this higher understanding that yes, you are in a body and you are a human, but you also have eyes that you can see through, which are those of your higher self. And these penetrate veils, they penetrate veils of untruths or lies or propaganda or simple stories that are being promoted. These eyes with the advanced vision, they have the ability to discern what is true. And likewise to hear what is true, likewise to feel what is true. Likewise to feel, for example, when you have just allowed something toxic into the body, or when you are in a public place and there is dangerous or damaging or perhaps dangerous emotional toxicity around you from a particular person. All these things can be discerned. And all of these things, if we were to sum them up, they basically tell a story of the human being who is becoming increasingly sensitive. Would you not agree, Anthony?
Yes.
Increasingly sensitive. And then there is the question of what happens as humanity awakens to their sensitivity. So, of course, we don't want everybody becoming hermits, but there may be a time of hermiting necessary while these things integrate and become absorbed. And then there may be an innate seeking out of like frequencies. Because once these frequencies start pinging on these higher levels, it can be physically difficult for those embodying these higher frequencies to spend a lot of time around lower frequencies, such as harsh music or toxic smells or heavy industrialization. These sort of things that really are not conducive to an organic human life.
Brilliant. I think you've covered off exceptionally well. And that's the end of my questions, unless you want to follow up on anything else you'd like to discuss.
No, these were very beautiful questions, Anthony, and very thoughtful, and thank you for your care in bringing these forward. We do love these times with you. And we trust that there will be some food for thought in those beloveds listening today. And of course, we will be back, and we love you all dearly. And to close, we would again give you thanks, Anthony. And we would say, tune in.
Mm.
Yes, allow these higher aspects to awaken within you. Feed the ears the high frequency sound that will allow them to turn on and guide you to your high frequency hearing. Feed them only quality visuals. Do not spend the hours crippling the eyes on the screens, or make sure it is balanced by gazing at sunsets and sunrises and nature and people you love, things that open the heart at the same time as the eyes are activated. Remember, dear ones, you are moving towards a telepathic future, not too far from now, in the higher dimensions. And so being clear on what your messages are, this is one of the gifts of the pineal, that it is toning and tuning you for these new, succinct conversations you will be having in the future with your beloveds across time and across space. We leave you now with much love. Blessings. Until next time.
Wow.
Great. Great. They sounded like great questions, Anthony.
Mm.
Beautiful. Yeah, really interesting and beautiful. I was fascinated by them too. Lovely. Yeah.
Very good.
So, yeah, juicy times, isn't it? Juicy times we're in. Yeah,
Very much so. It'll be interesting how it all pans out.
it is. So what are we today? We're the 30th. Yes,
Yep.
30th, the day that the as I said, that
31st.
is it
The
is it,
31st. My calendar's saying 31st to the 3rd.
oh, okay.
So you lost time as well.
I lost time. Yeah, I've got to stay there somewhere. So yesterday was the day that Neptune came in. Okay, beautiful. So, all good, and love to everybody watching, and we hope that you enjoy our offerings. And if you do, please continue to watch. And as I say, at some point, I will be offering any teachings for any of you who wish to immerse in some sound work or voice work, or working with activating the emotional body fully through sound. I will post at some point some programs and talk a little bit about them with you. Okay, great. Blessings. Love to you all. Bye.
Yeah.